There was a night, after the bloodiest battle I had ever survived, when I sat alone beside a dying fire and asked myself one question. How did so many strong men fall? Not by the enemy's sword, but by their own foolishness. I am Marcus, former centurion of the 13th Legion of Rome. I have marched through deserts, crossed frozen rivers, and watched empires rise and crumble. I have seen kings weep and beggars laugh. And in all my years of war and survival, the most dangerous enemy I ever faced was never on the battlefield. It was the fool living inside the man himself. Today I want to speak to you man to man, soldier to soldier, not with flattery, not with comfort, but with truth. Because someone needs to say what most people are too afraid to say. These are 6 signs that you are acting like a fool. And if you recognize yourself in any of them, do not feel shame. Feel gratitude, because awareness is the first weapon of a warrior. Sign number 1. You react before you think. I once had a soldier in my unit. His name was Drusus. Broad shoulders, fearless in battle, loyal as a dog. Every man in the Legion respected him. But Drusus had one fatal flaw. He could not control his tongue. One evening, a senior officer made a small remark about his performance during training. It was not even an insult. It was a correction. But Drusus exploded. He shouted. He pointed his finger. He insulted the officer in front of 50 men. 3 days later, Drusus was stripped of his rank and reassigned to the worst post in the entire campaign. His anger did not protect him. His anger destroyed him. I watched that moment and I carved it into my memory like a blade carving stone. A fool is not a man without strength. A fool is a man who lets his emotions command him instead of commanding his emotions. Marcus Aurelius, the greatest emperor Rome ever produced, wrote these words to himself. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Every time someone disrespects you, every time life hits you unexpectedly, every time a plan falls apart, you face a choice in that fraction of a second. You can react like an animal or you can respond like a general. Animals react. Generals respond. The man who masters his reaction masters his life. The man who cannot will always be a slave to whoever knows how to provoke him. So ask yourself honestly, when was the last time your reaction made a situation worse? When did your anger cost you something you could not get back? That is the fool speaking, and it is time to silence him. Sign number 2. You talk more than you act. In Rome, we had a saying among the soldiers. Empty carts make the most noise. I knew a young recruit once. Sharp mind, confident walk, the kind of man who commanded attention when he entered a room. Every night around the fire, he would talk about his plans. He would tell us about the battles he would win, the rank he would earn, the legacy he would leave behind. The other soldiers admired him at first. They leaned in when he spoke. They nodded at his vision. But weeks passed, then months, and while other soldiers were training before sunrise, this young man was still talking. While others were sharpening their swords, he was sharpening his stories. When the real battle came, he froze, not because he lacked talent, but because he had spent all his energy performing instead of preparing. He was transferred out of our unit before the year ended. Not with glory, with silence. Here is the truth that no one wants to hear. Talking about your goals releases the same feeling in your brain as actually achieving them. Tricks you. It makes you feel like you are moving forward when you are standing completely still. Every man who talks too much and acts too little is slowly building a prison made of his own words. The world does not reward the man with the best speech. It rewards the man with the best results. So close your mouth, pick up your sword, and let your actions write your story. Sign number 3. You seek comfort over growth. The winter of my 3rd campaign was brutal. Snow so thick you could not see 3 feet ahead. Temperatures that turned water to ice inside your cup before you could drink it. Half my men wanted to stop marching. They wanted to set up camp, light fires, and wait for warmer weather. And I understood the feeling. My own body was screaming for rest. But our commander, a man named Gaius, said something I never forgot. He gathered us in the freezing dark and he said this: "The enemy is cold too. The difference is they stopped. We have not. We kept marching. And because we kept marching, we arrived before they expected us. We had the advantage. We won. Comfort is a beautiful trap. It feels like safety, but it is actually slow death. Every time you choose the easy path, you are making a small withdrawal from your strength. And one day, you will reach into that account and find nothing left. The man who always sleeps in loses the morning. The man who always avoids hard conversations loses his relationships. The man who always chooses comfort over discipline loses himself. Growth lives on the other side of discomfort, every single time. So tomorrow morning, when your body says stay in bed, when your mind says this is too hard, when your fear says you are not ready, remember this. The warrior is not the man who never feels discomfort. The warrior is the man who moves forward in spite of it. Sign number 4. You surround yourself with the wrong people. I want to tell you about the most dangerous battle I ever fought. It was not against an enemy army. It was inside my own camp. During one of our longest campaigns, I noticed that a small group of soldiers had begun to poison the spirit of the unit. They complained constantly. They mocked the men who trained hard. They laughed at those who showed ambition. Slowly, like a disease moving through water, their attitude spread. Good soldiers started arriving late. Men who once trained with fire began doing the minimum. The energy of the entire unit shifted downward, not because of enemy action, but because of internal rot. I had to make a painful decision. I removed those men from the unit. Some of them were men I had known for years, men I had shared meals with, men whose names I knew. But the mission was greater than my personal comfort. Within 2 weeks, the energy returned. Men trained harder. Morale lifted. We moved as one again. Here is what I learned from that experience. You become the average of the men you spend the most time with. Not partially, completely. Their habits become your habits. Their limits become your limits. Their ceiling becomes your ceiling. A foolish man keeps toxic people close because he fears loneliness. A wise man chooses solitude over poison. Look around you right now. Do the people closest to you push you higher or pull you lower? Do they celebrate your growth or quietly resent it? Do they speak truth or only tell you what you want to hear? Your circle is not just company. It is destiny. Choose it like your life depends on it, because it does. Sign number 5. You chase validation instead of vision. There was a soldier in Rome who fought not for his emperor, not for his country, not even for his fellow soldiers. He fought for applause. Every victory, he needed someone to notice. Every sacrifice, he needed someone to acknowledge. He would recount his deeds at every gathering, waiting for men to nod and praise him. When they did not, he grew bitter. When someone else received recognition, he grew jealous. I watched that man slowly destroy every meaningful relationship he had. He became exhausting to be around, and eventually he had no one. Now, I am not telling you this to be cruel. I am telling you this because I recognized something of that soldier in myself once. Many years ago, I made decisions based on what would impress others rather than what was right for my mission. And those were always the worst decisions of my life. Here is the hard truth. When you live for other people's approval, you hand them the keys to your peace. Every opinion becomes a verdict. Every criticism becomes a wound. You are never free because you are always waiting for permission to feel good about yourself. The Stoics called this the most dangerous slavery of all. Not chains on your body, chains on your self-worth. A real man builds his vision whether anyone is watching or not. He does the right thing in the dark because his standard is his own conscience, not other people's eyes. Stop performing for the crowd. Start building for yourself. The right people will recognize you when the time is right. And if they never do, it will not matter because you will already know your own worth. Sign number 6. You quit when it gets hard. My final story is the most personal one. There was a battle I almost did not survive. Not because the enemy was too strong, but because there was a moment deep in the fighting when I considered retreating. My body was broken. 3 of my closest men had already fallen. The formation was collapsing on the left side. Everything inside me screamed that this was over. I stopped, just for one breath, And in that one breath, I asked myself a question that changed everything. If I stop here, who do I become tomorrow? I thought about every hard morning I had survived before this one, every cold river I had crossed, every wound I had trained through, every doubt I had refused to obey. If I retreated now, all of it meant nothing. The man I had built through years of discipline would be erased in one moment of weakness. So I raised my shield. I stepped forward, and somehow we held the line. That battle taught me the most important lesson of my life. Quitting is never just about the moment. Quitting is a message you send to yourself. It tells your own mind, I cannot be trusted when things get hard. And once your mind believes that, it will remind you of it every time the next challenge arrives. But the opposite is also true. Every time you push through when everything says stop, you make a deposit into your own courage. You become the kind of man who knows, deeply and unshakably, that he does not break. That is the most valuable thing a man can own. Not money, not status, not approval. The unbreakable knowledge that he is the kind of man who does not quit. So whatever battle you are fighting right now, whether it is in your career, your health, your relationships, your mind, hear me clearly. This is not the moment to retreat. This is the moment that defines you. 6 signs of a fool. Reacting before thinking. Talking more than acting. Choosing comfort over growth. Surrounding yourself with the wrong people. Chasing validation instead of vision. And quitting when it gets hard. I have been that fool. In different ways at different times in my life. And I am not ashamed to admit it. Because recognizing the fool inside you is not weakness. It is the beginning of wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, who commanded the greatest empire the world had ever seen, still wrote private notes to himself every morning reminding him not to act foolishly. If the Emperor of Rome needed that reminder, so do you. So do I. Every morning you open your eyes is another day you get to choose. Will you be the fool who reacts, talks, hides, follows the wrong crowd, performs and quits? Or will you be the warrior who thinks, acts, grows, chooses wisely, builds with purpose, and holds the line? The choice is yours. It has always been yours. Now rise, and do not waste this day. Drop in the comments the number of the sign that hit you hardest. And if this reached you, share it with one man who needs to hear it today.